In this lesson, we take a look at one of my favorite shaders in Arnold, and that is triplanar. So open up this shader network that is assigned to the sphere and to this torso geometry as well. First, let's add a checkerboard texture. Set its frequency to something like 5 and 5. And set it as the beauty shader. You see how the map sits on the sphere, and as this is a sphere, we get this weird polar mapping, and the squares of the checker are stretched horizontally. Now imagine if this sphere was a more complex geometry with no UV mapping at all. For example, this torso geometry. Let's hide the sphere and unhide the torso. You can see the UV mapping is absolutely terrible, and that is where triplanar is an absolute lifesaver. Let's connect the checkerboard pattern as the input of the triplanar shader and set the triplanar as the beauty. And boom, the checkerboard pattern nicely sits on the geometry. Let's unhide the sphere and hide the torso to see how the triplanar works. Triplanar allows you to quickly map a texture without using a UV map by projecting it from all the 6 sides. So if you take a look at the sphere, the checkerboard is projected from above, from below, from left, from right, from behind, and front sides as well. And this is a fantastic tool, especially for busier types of maps like grunge maps. Especially for those types of map, it eliminates any need for UV mapping. Now let's take a look at some of the triplanar options. Scale scales the image on X, Y, and Z. If we set it to 2, we get a smaller pattern, and I can uncheck this uniform scale and scale the image separately on X, Y, and Z. Rotate controls how much the texture is rotated within the texture frame. Offset moves the image in the X, Y, and Z directions. You have different coordinate spaces for the projection. Next, we have blend. Right now, as the shader projects the texture from each side, we get this visible sim between the projected textures. Blend allows you to blend together the projected textures from each side smoothly. Now, triplanar is not built for this kind of textures that have a well-defined pattern, but more for the busier types of textures. Let's load this BW21 texture and set it as the input for the triplanar. And now we can use a small blend value like 0.1 to get rid of the sims. And then we can enable this cell option to add a bit of extra randomization as well. If we unhide the torso model and hide the sphere and set the grunge map directly as the beauty shader, you can see it's a mess. But if we connect it through the triplanar, it's a workable texture that we can use it for like our specular roughness map. So that's about triplanar shader in Arnold for Cinema 4D. See you in the next video.